Hello, and welcome to this presentation on the power of dreams, how to set goals to impact your health, happiness, and success. This program is a bit of a passion of mine. I'm sure some of you who have trained with me for a while know that setting goals is really important, and I talk about it all the time. So, this little presentation is just a way for you guys to have some extra information on how to set goals and how to achieve them. And the information in here is the synthesis of 20 years of being a coach and a goal setter and working on how to help people achieve things that they decide they want. So, as we go forward, being that this is for my martial arts friends, there is an emphasis on martial arts training as we go through here in the examples, but the principles for setting goals are universal. So you can use any of these principles we talk about today for any goal you might have, whether that's academic in school, whether it's workplace, relationship goals, health goals, or as we said, martial art goals. Okay. So keep that in mind as we go forward. And yeah, let's get into it. The first part we're going to talk about is a bit of a definition. Okay. So the title of the presentation was called The Power of Dreams. So we want to define what is a dream. Your dream is your long-term goal, the greatest vision you currently have of your future. Okay. It is sometimes referred to as a legacy. That is how you want to be remembered. Sometimes you'll hear it called in psychology literature, you'll hear it called life goals or core goals. And then my favorite definition here by Brian Tracy is your major definite purpose. It's the thing that you are working on or working toward right now that is so big, it makes everything else have a reason for being. Okay. It is the contribution you want to make in the world, how you want to be remembered. It is the big, grand vision that you are working toward. And we want to define our dream because it is a big motivating tool for one. But part two, it gives us like a North Star. It's our North direction. It's where we are always going. And that becomes a way for us to make future decisions later. It helps us set all the other goals that come underneath it to help us move in the same direction. And it helps us to uh, find a new spark of motivation when things get hard, particularly if we combine it with some of the things we're going to talk about in a few minutes in the course of this presentation. So, your dream. Setting or becoming aware of your dream, if you don't have one already, is not a quick process. It's something that when I start working with someone as a coach, will often take a month and a half, sometimes 2 months to really not just come up with it, but really clarify it. You should be able to write your dream, to write what it is you want to achieve in your life, where you want to go, and you should be able to write it in such a way that you could explain it to a 12-year-old. You need to be able to take what is effectively a very complex idea that you have in your mind and simplify it all the way down into an actionable, understandable, communicatable series of sentences, basically, if you write it down. You can certainly draw a picture of it or paint a picture of it in other ways as well if you're artistically inclined, but definitely be able to write it down as well. That helps you to clarify everything. Now, you don't need to share the dream with anyone, but you want to be able to have that kind of simple language in your head so you're 100% clear on what it is. All right. Any of you have ever read a mission statement for a company? Stephen Covey, another one of my favorite authors, refers to your dream as your personal mission statement. So it should deal with what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it, and the values by which you are going to achieve it. And we'll get into all of those in a little bit as we go forward through here. But really take the time, give yourself the gift of discovering what your dream is, your big overarching life goal. Now, keep in mind too, dreams will evolve over time as you gain more goals or find out new information or find new passions or change careers or anything like that that might happen in your life. So it's not set in stone, but it is something we want to revisit. We want to create a dream so that we're working toward it. And when new information comes into our life, we can reassess and perhaps refine our dream, or it can evolve. And that's a key word. It evolves as you grow. As you evolve, your dream will evolve. So don't be afraid of getting locked into something, but definitely write it as if it was what you were going for, no matter what. And that will help you understand the context of everything that comes after that. Okay. It's very hard to do step 2 and 3 if you haven't done step 1. Your dream is step 1. It is why you want to do everything else. It is the big picture. And as we go forward into setting smaller goals, they're all going to lead to this one. So give yourself the time to come up with your dream. Okay. A good way to do this is to just sit down, take a few deep breaths, have a pen and paper ready, and just daydream, dream. Think about everything in your life that you would like to achieve. Think about a specific thing or a range of things that go forward. Imagine what your life would look like in 10, 20, 30 years, if you like. The length of time isn't quite as important as the fact that you have things you want to accomplish or a state of being you want to reach, and you want to be envisaging that vividly in your mind to the point where you can describe it on a page. Again, what is happening? Who's there with you to make your dream a reality? Where are you living? What are you contributing? What are you learning? What have you learned? What are you teaching? How are you working? Are you um, achieving a particular task? Do you have a life of meaning? Are you giving to a cause? What is it in your life? What is it in you that you really want to achieve? That's your dream. Make sure you give yourself the gift of writing that down. It is very, very important. Sometimes it can feel like you get stuck with this. That's okay. Give yourself the patience, give yourself the time, invest in yourself to write this dream. If you really get stuck, come talk to me and I will help you out for sure. All right, moving along. That's a dream. Now we're going to look at what are goals. Well, if your dream is your long term vision of your future, all right, and it is the overarching vision we have, our goals become our short and medium term aims and objectives, our outcomes. They're little things that we want to achieve that will help move us towards the realization of our dream. They shouldn't necessarily be independent. They should be kind of working us toward this sense of meaning, this sense of achievement that we are creating. All right. So, psychological definition here is the second point. They are motivational objectives by which we direct our lives. So, they help us channel our energy and our focus. That's what a goal really does. That's one of its greatest benefits. We want to get in the habit and the practice of setting goals and focusing on our goals because we have a vast level of distraction in this world. I'm sure you're all aware, you've experienced. And we have a phenomenal capacity to take information in and a huge amount of energy, but only a very finite amount of time, right? Having a goal helps you narrow your focus into the self identified tasks, activities, and achievements that are most valuable to you. So they will give you the most return on your time. They will focus your energy to move toward the things that provide you with the greatest level of satisfaction, of meaning, of engagement, and deliver a sense of purpose, provided you have a dream. If you have no dream, you could set any goal, and we think we're doing it all the time, right? In fact, there is an argument that we are always setting goals. We always have tasks in mind. How many of you have a list running in the back of your head, to-do list maybe, or tasks you need to get done every day, right? A goal is as simple as I got to do the dishes right now. It can be really short term, but we can also make it far more meaningful. Not that washing the dishes isn't meaningful, but a far more uh, broad spectrum goal might be in a martial arts setting, I want to get my black belt. And that might be a medium term goal, or it might be a long term goal, depending on where you're at on your journey. For some of you, it could be a short term goal. It might be the next grading opportunity, it might be to get that net black belt, but it is a goal that provides meaning, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of purpose. It directs your energy. Think about what it takes to get a black belt. From where you are now to get there, there's a series of steps involved. It's not just show up one day and we get it, right? We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but just be aware that your goals, we're making them all the time. So if you're not choosing them consciously with a sense of purpose, your brain will automatically come up with a whole bunch of random tasks to fill your time that will not give you the return on that purpose and that meaning and that engagement that contributes so much to living a life that feels full and happy or joyous or at least positive. Okay. As we said, your goals are self-chosen tasks that lead to achievement. And they become clearly defined objectives, as we said, that get you closer to your dream. Okay. If your goal is taking you away from your dream, you should probably question if your dream is really what you want, or rather, more likely, is your goal just a bright, shiny object that we're chasing because it seems fun, or better yet, easy? Or is it something that is actually meaningful and important to you? So it becomes a decision making process as well. Okay. Why should we set goals? Well, we've talked about that a little already, but here's a definition from a positive psychology text by Bonnewell. And we have when we consciously attempt to understand our goals, why we are pursuing them, and if they match our values, we can enhance our well being. That's really important. So, well being, we'll start there, is just your personal sense. It's very subjective. It is your personal sense of happiness and satisfaction in your life. So if I say, hey, how satisfied are you with life right now? Your mind is going to come up with a lot of different things. How am I feeling? What have I accomplished? What do I have left to accomplish? And we're going to come up with some kind of a summary that we could put in one word. So I say, how satisfied are you with your life right now? You might say, I am great. I'm on my way. I'm doing everything I want to do. Or you might go, oh, actually, I'm a little dissatisfied. I've got more that I want to do than I've done yet. That's okay. That's why we set goals. That's why we set goals. That's why we have them here. Okay. So that's our well being. It's our sense of both positive emotion in our life and our sense of fulfillment, meaning, engagement, how we're feeling we're doing at life. So that's your well being. All right. It's not just I feel healthy today, it is a lot more encompassing. All right. Now, look here. We talked about consciously attempting to understand our goals. Remember just a minute ago, I said that if you don't consciously set a goal with meaning, your brain will just come up with a random bunch anyway. Well, not just your brain will do that. Your boss will do that for you if you're at work. Your partner might do that for you if you're in a relationship. Your family might do that for you. Society might give you one. Okay. They seep in from all different places. Certainly, advertisers are trying to give you a goal all the time, right? Yes. So we are always being influenced by external sources. If we don't consciously attempt to understand the goals we are pursuing, we don't really know if they're coming from us. And that's where we come up to here at this next point. We want to check if they match our values. We want to know if the goals that we have chosen, or if we find ourselves pursuing a course of action that was working as a goal, we want to make sure it matches our values. Our values. What are our values? Well, glad you asked. Our values are the most important things in life to you. Again, highly subjective. Highly subjective. They are your deeply held beliefs about the world and your place in it. They are able to be changed and we can self select them. They can be very deep seated. So sometimes we have a value that is actually modifying our behavior that we don't really have a conscious awareness of. They can be a little tricky to change, but it is possible to change, modify, refine, and possible to create new values. That is a decision that you can make consciously. Okay, but they also form the basis for why we do what we do. Your values very much uh, they're not really the motivating power behind you, but they are the decision making power behind you. So they're often why you choose to do what you do. Okay, that is your value. So the thing with values is we've set our own dream, right? We've set our own dream, and now we're setting goals. Well, don't you think it would make sense to also set our own personal values? Our values are tricky. We often run on a system of values that is given to us in childhood. We learn our values, first of all, from our parents and our family. Then we might learn them from any system of faith that you're part of, whatever that faith may be, whether that's religious or otherwise. It could just be a group that you're part of in a developmental stage in your life, including sporting teams. Okay. You also then get a bunch of values from school, right? So all of these things influence us when we're very young, and we learn to conform to these value systems that we find ourselves in order to fit in order to learn what's expected of us and then to perform in a way that is expected of us. And often we don't really question it, particularly at that age. And then as we grow, we kind of get into a routine of just living out those values. And we haven't really done any self-exploration. We haven't really done any questioning. We haven't really done any critical thinking about whether those values are in fact actually serving us as we are now, or more importantly, where we want to go in the future. And I encourage you to do that. You can find your values just by doing a really quick exercise. Get a paper and a pen, sit down and just ask yourself, what are the most important things in life to me right now? And just write what comes up. Don't think about it too much. Just write as quickly as you can what comes up. You probably come up with a list of 3 to 5 things that pop up pretty quickly. Some people can get stuck here. If you're getting stuck, stop thinking so much. Right? Trust yourself. They will come out. And we tend to get 3 to 5 that come out quickly. If you get stuck around that 3 to 5 mark, just ask yourself, what else is important to me? And you'll find your list will get a little bit longer. We tend to top out around 7, 8 things. Some people can push out to 10, but you may or may not get there. Okay. When you ask a nice vague question like that, our mind doesn't always keep a catalog list consciously retrievable. All right. But they will be there, I promise you. So that's a good way to do it. And then one other thing, if you want to go a little further, you can check in. Your values tend to be, they're very deep seated, but they're also contextual, right? So it's in every area of your life. So if you're doing this little exploration on your values, what are they? Do a general one like we just talked about, but then also ask, what are my values? What are the most important things to me at work, for example? What are the most important things to me in my relationship, whether that's with a family or a partner? What are my most important things with my friendships? Okay. And you will find the values that come up, the things that are important to you across those different contexts. Now, sometimes you'll find an overlap, right? Sometimes you'll find an overlap. And that's great. We know that if there's an overlap there, it's probably a very important value to you, and it should definitely be taken into consideration when you are forming your dream and setting your goals. But as you do this process, you want to look in and you look and you see all the values that are there. And if you've got a value that you write it down and you kind of look at it and you go, gee, that's interesting. You need to check in with yourself. Is that value going to empower you? Is it going to help you drive towards the dream and the goals you were choosing? Or is it going to get in the way? Sometimes that can be quite tricky. And we go, why do I keep sabotaging myself? Invariably, we have a conflict between what we say we want on one hand and then the way we behave or the values that we hold on the other hand. Right? This can happen very, very commonly. I myself had to deal with this one actually more than once, if we're honest. And you might find the same thing. When I first started competing, I really was doing my best and I was quite young. So I didn't really know anything about nutrition. I certainly wouldn't have been able to do a program like this, that's for sure. I didn't know how to set goals. I didn't know about nutrition. I didn't know about exercise. I just knew I had to do what my coach told me and I ate whatever I was given at home. Sounds like most children, right? Well, what would happen was at home, I would choose all the yummy foods, right? The Tim Tams, the white breads, the butters, the ice creams, and all these things. And what was happening is I was training really, really hard, but I was eating foods that did not match my goals. So my fitness wasn't really improving properly. And what happened was I actually ended up making myself sick. Okay. And I had to look, and it took me many years to realize what was happening. I mean, slow learner, maybe, but also at that age, you go looking for all the answers somewhere else, right? It wasn't until I was coaching other people and training and being a PT and I was doing real solid work and research and goal setting and personal development and neurolinguistic programming that I realized that I had adopted values from assumptions is a key word of things I had seen when I was growing up to think that these foods were okay and supportive. They certainly tasted good, right? But it was a value I had around eating those foods and being relaxed and having fun. And that was in direct opposition to my highly competitive activities, my chosen sport of really trying to pursue higher and higher levels of achievement. And you have to examine, where did that value come from? Where is this course of action coming from? And once you have found it, you can do a couple little things. So, for example, if I say food is love, that is a value of mine. Sometimes for some people who hold something similar, you will see them, that means they give you all the yummy cakes and pastries and the baking goods that were like, I'm showing you love by giving you all this food. Well, that's a great value. However, maybe it's just being manifested in a funny way. It's being shown, demonstrated, acted upon in a funny way. Now, if I say food is love, yeah, sure, great. But when I give food, I want it to be giving health and energy and vitality. Do you think that little refinement might change the way I act on my value? Right? Of course it does. It changes the kinds of foods I prepare for my kids, the kinds I prepare for my wife, and the kind I prepare for myself. Right? And now I have a value that I didn't have to change or get rid of, but I've refined its meaning to enhance my goals of well-being and to enhance and support my goals in my sport. You see how those kind of things now work together? Okay. So that's your values, right? We've talked about a dream, got to have a big dream, or we want. We don't gotta, but we want to have a big dream, something that helps you have a North Star, a direction you want to go in. Under that, we're going to set goals because they help us direct our energy to achieve certain behaviors, certain habits, and certain tasks and milestones that we want to hit along the path to leading towards our dream. And then we want to make sure that those things are in touch with our values. They're in alignment, in congruence with our values. If we find that our values are in conflict, change or refine. Okay. Now let's move. If we've got all this stuff written down and we've done all this hard work, we've set our dream, we've set our goals, we understand our values, then what happens in the moment is we get faced with the power of choice. Now, choice is a responsibility. I mentioned Stephen Covey earlier, one of my favorite authors. He's the author of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That is a great book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. He will tell you in habit 1, it's the habit of being proactive. It is the habit of responsibility, the ability to respond. And that is possibly the single greatest piece of advice I have ever written. Be proactive. Take responsibility for your actions, for your choices, and for your life. Okay. Habit 1 of highly effective people. That means, if we're being proactive, that we take responsibility in the moment for the choices we make. We don't say, oh, somebody else made me make this choice, or I didn't have a choice. You have a choice. You, in fact, have 3 choices at any time. Okay, categories of choices. There is only 3 for the innumerable amount of choices you make on a daily basis. It really comes down to 3 categories. And this is borrowed from the work of Paul Chek of the Chek Institute. Okay, let's talk about this. Choice number 1, the green arrow up here, is your optimal choice. An optimal choice is a choice that is good for you, it is good for your dream team, and it gets you closer to your stated dream. Okay, what's a dream team? We didn't talk about that yet. Your dream team is the people around you that are involved, impacted by, or supporting your dream. So it could be your family. If you're pursuing a big dream, a big vision for your life, your family is going to come with you or be impacted in some way. It could be your co-workers. It could be your employees if you own the business or you're a manager of some way. Okay. It could be your coach if you have an athletics goal. It could be a life partner. You know, if you're going to go somewhere and your partner's going the opposite direction, that's going to create some conflict. So we want to know who is on our dream team, who do we need help from, and who are we going to impact. And then when we make our choices, when we're designing our dream, designing our goals, and acting on those things, we want to make sure, as best as possible, life's not perfect, but as best as possible, we want to make sure that we are acting in an optimal way. We are doing the things, we're driving our energy in such a way that we are moving towards our stated dream for the benefit not just of ourselves, but for the people we are going to impact. That's an optimal choice. Okay, jump down now to the red arrow, okay, your suboptimal choice. There's a couple of options of what could be a suboptimal choice. The great summary is it's taking you away from your stated dream in one way, shape, or form. So this could be a choice that is bad for you or bad for your dream team or bad for both. Okay. So if it's bad for you, pretty clear it's suboptimal. If it's bad for your dream team, well, that's still suboptimal. We don't want to be burning bridges and putting pressure on relationships that we need and want and value, right? So your suboptimal choice is bad for you and or bad for your dream team. If it's bad for both of you, it's definitely not a great choice. However, it can be valuable. Sometimes a suboptimal choice is a mistake. We didn't know better at the time, so we made a boo-boo. Okay? And they're valuable for the learning and the feedback that is obtained. They're experience choices, right? We make the choice, we learn something, whoops, that didn't work, and we can get back on track now with more information, more experience, greater clarity, and we are able to make a more optimal choice the next time. Okay? So not inherently a bad thing, just not necessarily good for you. Does that make sense? Good. All right. Moving on now, this middle choice, this black arrow, no choice or do nothing. This can be the worst choice. Doing nothing is a choice. It is the choice not to act, right? Often we'll find that procrastination falls into this category as well. So it is apathy, just that I don't care. And that can be really dangerous. Okay, that can make it the worst of choices. You're not challenging yourself, you're not growing, you're not learning anything. You haven't actually taken action to make a mistake. So you haven't created experience that gives you learning to make a better choice in the future. You've done nothing, right? So all we're doing is effectively wasting time, wasting our energy, wasting our growth and our potential. So it's not the best choice. And we want to be careful of the times where we are avoiding making a choice. We want to really look inside. Why am I avoiding this? Why? If it is simply that, oh, I don't have enough information, okay, great. You can see here at the top there, no choice or doing nothing when we need to gather data or gather more information to make an informed choice. That can be useful. However, that still requires that you go and proactively gather that data and gather that information for the purpose of making a choice. You can't just, sit down and watch Netflix or scroll through social media and hope that the choice is going to pop out at you, right? It's still a concept of actually gathering information. The other time it can be good to look at this is if I am in a disagreement with someone else, I'm in some kind of conflict and emotions are getting a little bit heightened and we're starting to get to the point where we're not really communicating very well, that can be a great time to go, okay, look, wait, just going to hit a pause here and then we're going to step back. We're going to do nothing just until everything calms down. And then you come back and you restart your communication from an optimal standpoint. Okay. So those are two good things that can come from making no choice: gathering data and information to make an informed choice later, and hitting pause in order to limit the amount of emotional fallout in important relationships. But other than that, we're really just wasting time. We're filling time you can never get back, right? So sometimes we need rest, and that's okay. But if we're pursuing rest, that is not the same as no choice. Pursuing rest in the pursuit of your dream, or sorry, I should say engaging in restful activities in the pursuit of your dream, is optimal. It's optimal. It is good for you. It is good for your dream team, and it moves you closer to your dream. Okay. So rest itself is optimal. It's the doing nothing. It is the space fillers. We just go, I don't know what to do. I'll just do this. Those are the kind of things we're talking about being aware of. And if we find ourselves in those moments, then it would be good to ask, geez, what kind of goal have I got on now? What am I looking for right now? And is this helping me? And you'll get a pretty quick answer, no. And you'll start being able to make a more optimal choice from that position. To finish off choices, a little bit of a quote here from Tony Robbins. It is in the moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. I love this quote. This is so good. Think about that. How many decisions do you make every day? A bunch, right? How many of them are conscious? How many of them do you think about in advance or take seriously? Now, I'm not saying the decision to brush your teeth should be a real considered plan, right? That should be a fairly automatic habit that doesn't take a lot of thought. Equally, what you wear on a given day, that's going to be as much of a decision as it is important to you. However, the other decisions you make, do I exercise today? What do I have for lunch today? Do I go to class today? These things impact your goals big time. What am I going to read, listen to, or watch today? You say, Chris, that's just doing nothing. Well, no, it's not. What you read, listen to, and watch influences what goes on in your mind. It influences your mood, your thoughts, your emotions, and therefore your actions, right? So if you are in the habit of reading really depressing, dark news and then listening to really intense music, for example, what is that doing to your mood? What is that doing to your thoughts? Okay. The decisions we make every day on what to focus on are highly important and they will really impact your goals. The good news is, as we continue through this process, we're going to find ways to help us focus more clearly on what it is we say we want. All right, looking into this now. Setting goals. We talked at the very beginning, we said that this course, this presentation was about setting goals to have greater levels of health, happiness, and success. 3 parts: health, happiness, success. Well, success is subjective, that's up to you. But generally speaking, for the purpose of here, we are talking about achieving things that we say we want that are meaningful and important to us. Okay? Your health. Well, that's sort of subjective as well, but only to a point, right? Generally speaking, we want to be talking about healthy lifestyle behaviors that support us having enough energy, vitality, and good health to be able to pursue our dream and to be able to engage in life in the way we want. We don't want to be hindered by ill health, right? So we pursue good health. And then happiness. Happiness is a funny one, also subjective. But for the purposes of what we're talking about now, our happiness is what is going to be effectively a byproduct of pursuing your goals, your dreams, and living in good health, having success and good health. Okay, because as we pursue those things, I'm sure you'll see as we go through this process, if you are acting or choosing optimal decisions, optimal choices, you're doing things that are good for you and good for your dream team, which are going to build your relationships in a positive and strengthened way. You're going to be selecting goals that are based on an overriding future that was broad, right? We talked about what you want to do, who's going to be there with you. Okay, so we've got a great environment around us. So we're going to be enhancing those things. Then it's going to provide meaning and value to us, right? And then we're going to become engaged in it. And you're going to find that as these things start working together, you're going to find yourself really charged up by the life that you are creating for yourself. Okay, it's taking responsibility, being proactive, for being an agent of change in your life, for directing your energy to where you want to go. And even when life hits you real hard, which sometimes it does, you will find that you're more able to get back on the horse and you're feeling more proactive, more positive about life itself and your role in it and what you are achieving than you would in the absence of setting goals, right? And here, this list, this is what research tells us makes for the most happy making is the word I've got up there, but it's the most impact we can have on our well-being, right? Remember that word we defined earlier? Your current satisfaction with life plus positive emotion equals well-being. All right, well, here we go. This is the list we want to look at when we're setting a goal. We want the goal to be intrinsic. That means it comes from us. We want to do it for the sake of doing it. We're not doing it because a boss told me to do it. We're not doing it because the teacher told me to do it. We're not doing it because mom and dad told me to do it. We're doing it because it was important to me. I wanted to do this thing because it is inherently interesting or desirable. Okay, it's intrinsic. Okay, that's part one. Next part, authentic. Okay, authentic. It has to be in alignment, in harmony with your values. We want to pursue a goal that makes us feel like the real us, to be most of yourself. If you are setting goals to impress someone else or to fit in, you're going to be disappointed, to put it bluntly. All right, we want to be setting goals that are mostly goals that are about how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about life. Okay, those are the goals that will help you to show up as your authentic self and to help you express yourself in this world in which we inhabit. and they are the ones that will give you the greatest impact. Okay, heading you towards what we call self-actualization. Okay, that's what we want, being your best self. Okay, we also want our goals to be approach oriented. That means we're setting goals to move towards something, towards something. Okay, I said that this would be about martial arts, so that would be moving toward a black belt. If you're already a black belt, it might be moving towards a Dan or a fourth Dan or being an instructor. It may not. It may not. They're just examples that we can look at. Okay. If we're setting a goal, we want it to be something that we are motivated on going towards. So it's creating that forward direction. I don't really want to be setting a goal that I want to avoid something. Like I want to avoid confrontation, because inevitably what happens is what you focus on avoiding, you run straight into, right? You run straight into. Talking to my martial arts friends, if we are sparring, right, or we're competing, if I'm constantly thinking about don't get hit, don't get hit, don't get hit, don't get hit, avoid, 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 inevitably I'm going to find myself backed into a corner somewhere and I'm going to get hit all day, right? We need to focus on the task, the objective, the goal that we want to achieve. We want to achieve something, move towards something. If I take that same sparring example, I might be concerned that I'm at the risk of getting hit when I'm sparring, but my goal, my attention, my intention, and my objective is clear: to get my own strikes in, to score my own points, right? It's to move towards something, approach oriented. Okay. Next word, harmonious. We want our goals to be heading us in one direction. In one direction. It's very hard to have lots of little goals all going in different ways. Okay. We would ideally like a bunch of short-term goals that we know that as we hit each one, we're heading closer to our medium-term goal. And as we hit our medium-term goals, that's heading us closer to our dream, right? That's called goal hierarchy, which we'll talk about again in just a moment. But we want our goals to be harmonious. We don't want them working against each other. Okay. I quoted Brian Tracy for you earlier, talking about a major definite purpose as being the one thing that you want to achieve right now in your life. And that can be quite a big thing. That can be your dream. But he also makes the point that you can't have two major definite purposes. It's like trying to ride two bicycles at the same time. You're not going to go anywhere and you'll probably fall down, right? You want to work your way into having one dream and then a series of goals that support that dream, so that we're not wasting energy pulling and pushing against ourselves and wondering why we're not getting anywhere, just spinning our wheels. Okay. Setting goals. Our next one is flexible and appropriate, right? Goals change, times change. Remember earlier we were talking about the dream? I said that the dream might change and evolve as you grow and evolve. Okay. The goals, the things that are important to us, change with age and with time. Yeah. I no longer want to be an Olympian Taekwondo athlete. Why? I'm a little past it. I don't even want to think about getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning anymore to go and train, right? That part of my life is gone. Yeah. So you want to have a set of goals that are appropriate and flexible. That doesn't mean you don't aim big. It doesn't mean you think small. It just means that we take into account real life and where we are now and what is important to us now. Not what we wanted to do 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, but what we want to do now. Okay. And we check that out. To me, this one is very much related to being authentic, to making sure it's in alignment, in congruence with your values. All right. But just be aware, things do change, outcomes change, timelines change, and we want to be flexible in that area. We don't necessarily want to get rid of a goal because we think we can't do it in the time we sort of made up. We want to think about, can I do it? It just takes a little bit longer. Do I need more help? Okay. Be flexible. Okay. And then the last thing here is activity goals. Goals that have you being part of a group or part of a community or doing a sport or learning an instrument or being part of a band or an art class or something like that. Those tend to be really good goals for helping us connect socially and really enhancing our well-being and our happiness as well. Good news for you guys, if you're watching this, you've joined a really lovely martial art club, right? With really fascinating people who are there to support you and make you feel welcome and at home, and working together to make each other better. And that builds a lot of connection, and it brings a lot of happiness and joy and it helps you to achieve your goal. All right. A rising tide lifts all boats, we say, right? All right. Let's check this out now. Goal hierarchy. This is what I alluded to earlier. So, your goal hierarchy is just understanding that your dream is the guiding force, like we've said a bunch of times now. And from that dream, I can come up with a bunch of mid-tier goals, a few things I might need to achieve along the path to reaching my dream. Okay. And then underneath those mid-tier goals will be my short-term or my sub-goals, sorry. Now, your short-term goals, this is really interesting. Your dream and your mid-tier goals tend to be outcomes, things we are pursuing, places we want to arrive at. When we come all the way down into our short-term goals, though, it gets a little bit different. Down here, there might be things we want to achieve in the short term. It could be things like, for example, if my dream was to compete in America, a short-term goal might be to get a passport. Okay, that is an outcome that is possible in a month or so. It's a short-term goal, right? Okay, but more importantly, your short-term and your sub goals need to be things that are behavior orientated. If you've been hanging around with me for any length of time and heard me talk about goals, I guarantee you've heard me say you can't manage outcomes, you can only manage behaviors, right? You need to be focused on the tasks you are doing, the habits you are forming on a daily basis. What kind of person you need to be? What kind of habits do you need to have? Behaviors do you need to adopt that will help you move towards your goals, right? If we put the habit there of gaining a black belt, for example, then I know the behaviors I need to do. I need to rest to recover. I need to eat to recover and be healthy. And I need to train 2 to 3 times a week and probably practice once more, right? All of those things go together. Then your mid-tier goals would be like, okay, well, my mid-tier goal is to get blue belt and then reassess where I'm at, right? That's how we work through our goal system. Okay, so they all want to work together and move up. Something that's interesting, this little image I actually pinched from Angela Duckworth and her book called Grit. Again, highly recommended. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Grit, that's 2 books so far, 2. Okay, both of them highly worthwhile. But Angela Duckworth has, or is, the authority on building resilience. And I say resilience, building gumption, building the psychological attributes to stick to your goals, to stick towards achieving mastery or attainment in any field you want to go to. And so we pinch this from her. And one thing she points out is that your sub goals are likely to be the ones that change the most, right? So if my dream or my legacy, it's pretty clear. I know that's what I want to do with my life. I'm going to keep moving towards it, but my approach to that needs to be flexible. Okay. So what's a good example of this? Okay. Let's say I said I want to go and compete in America before. All right. Well, as a martial artist, I have several ways I can do that. I can compete in point sparring. I can compete in full contact sparring. I could do demonstration skills. I could do my patterns. I could do weapons. Okay, that's 5 different paths, right? If I set behavior management goals, okay, to start getting good at all those 5 areas, in 6 months' time, I might go, well, actually, it's really only the pattern that I'm excelling in. And so I might double down. I might let the other short-term behaviors go as I focus on the one that is giving me the most promise. And then I can keep moving up towards achieving my goal of competing in America. Follow? Good. Let's have a little look at this a little bit more practically now as we go forward. So the process of actually setting goals, the process of using the information we've talked about, okay? This is the order you want to go in, all right? Identify and describe your dream. Again, get a piece of paper out. Take the time. Write it out, okay? Do what you can. Paint a picture. Draw a picture. Do both. Write and draw. Write and paint. I don't know. Do whatever it is you need to do to create a powerful visualization of the future that you think you want at this moment. Then check your dream against your values. Do they fit? If not, examine what can be done. Does the dream need to be modified a little bit because your values are really clear? Or do we need to explore your values and maybe adopt some new ones, get rid of some old ones, or maybe tweak a couple of values to help us support our pursuit of and our achievement of that dream? Part 3, create your mid-tier goals and milestones. There is a technique in NLP called storyboarding. Okay. So if I have a dream and I think that dream is going to take me, let's say it's going to take me 10 years to get that dream, then a good length of time to think about my mid-tier goals at this moment is 5 years to halve it. Okay. Might think about 5 years from now, where do I need to be in order to be heading towards my 10-year goal? And then underneath that, I might think of my short-term goals as things that need to be done in the next 12 months to 2 years to help move me towards. Okay. And then this is a constant evolutionary process. You might do this every 6 months. Certainly, we have a cultural habit of thinking about it at least once a year at New Year's, right? Looking into what have I achieved? What do I want to do? What's next? Okay. Imagine how much easier your New Year's resolutions are if you already know where your dream is, where your mid-tier goals are, where you are in any given year, and you just want to keep going. Simpler. You'll also keep them a bit better, right? Handy. Here's an example. Okay. Now, this one was mine. I decided I wanted to be a martial arts instructor, at the age of 12. So this is a little example that I just put together from my own life. So here it is. So the dream is to be a martial arts school owner and instructor. Now, at the time I came up with that idea, I was 12, like I said. So I was a long way away, right? So when I thought about that, what do I need to do? Well, what I needed to do was get a fourth Dan. That's the only one that I knew at that time. Okay. Now, getting a fourth Dan, I didn't even have my black belt yet when I came up with this goal. So we're looking at a 15 to 18-year journey just on that. Okay. So just to put in perspective how long a dream can take, right? And that was just a short one, right? So that's the one I knew. Then as I got a little bit older and we started moving towards it, I realized I needed to study exercise and sports science a little bit, and I needed to learn how to run a business. It's very hard to be a successful martial arts school owner if you don't know how to run a business. It's very hard to be a good instructor if you don't know anything about exercise science, right? So all these things, these mid-tier goals all fit together to create the dream of being a martial arts school owner and instructor, right? And then we come down, okay, so I've got my dream, I've got my mid-tier goals. What are my short-term goals? Well, for my standard, I needed to be able to attend 4 to 5 classes per week. I wanted to follow a healthy eating plan so I had the energy and the vitality. Now, clearly, as I said before, that took a long time for me to learn, right? That wasn't something that came up quickly. I was making the wrong choices. I needed to learn more information. Okay. And I needed to follow an effective and safe exercise and conditioning program to prevent injuries. Okay. So that's just an example. It's not a perfect example, it's a quick example. And it is something that you can build on. Think about your dream way up here, top level, mid-tier goals, a couple of things you need to do. Maybe it's different categories of skills you need that will help you get to your dream. And then short-term goals. Now, ideally, you would actually make short-term goals for each of those mid-tier goals, right? I just did one set here for space so we can see. Moving on. That is the process. And if you follow that, you will have some success. But new information coming to light all the time in psychological science, this is how we enhance the goal setting process. So what we've done up till now is talked about what I thought about goals, and it's been kind of the main drive for goals for probably 60, 70 years in psychological literature. Over the last 15 to 20, we've had this new concept called mental contrasting come out. And actually, that's book number 3 that I recommend to you, okay? Rethinking Positive Thinking by Gabrielle Oettingen. This lady is a very clever thinker. She came up with the idea that she wanted to figure out why some people were pursuing their goals and really succeeding and when some people weren't. And she thought that if you just positively fantasize about a goal, you should improve your drive and your commitment to go and achieve that goal. Well, when she tested that scientifically, she found that when people really visualized strongly the achievement, the attainment of their goal, what happened was their brain was so clever, it tricked them into releasing dopamine as if they'd already had it. They'd already achieved it. So their drive, their energy went down. And that prevented them from taking the actions they knew they needed to take. Isn't that fascinating? Your brain is so clever. So we want to use it to our advantage. And that's where mental contrasting comes in. So mental contrasting is simply using the process of your imagination to construct that positive fantasy we've already talked about, but then coming back to reality and looking at what is happening in real life right now, particularly within yourself, not so much in the environment around you, although that can be advantageous, but within yourself, what is happening that is preventing you or might prevent you from getting your goal in the future. So that could be anything from a procrastination habit. It could be feeling overwhelmed. It could be just having some doubts. It could be feeling like an imposter. Any of those little niggly naggly thoughts that come up, those sometimes get in the way of us taking action, don't they? Because our thoughts govern our emotions and our emotions govern our behavior. It's pretty much how that works. All right. So by mentally figuring out what those obstacles are in advance, we can confront them and then we get a lot of clarity. If you start going through this process and you realize that in yourself, oh, I have a procrastination habit, but you think about your dream, you think about procrastinating, you think, but I really want that, it re-energizes you. It's going to start beating down that procrastination for you so that you have more of a spark to go and pursue the goal that you've already talked about. Okay. And we have a way, Gabrielle Ottingen, Dr. Ottingen, in fact, came up with a way for us to go through this process of mental contrasting called WOOP. Is a fun name for going through this process here. Some of you will have heard me talk about this before, but here you go. We'll go again. So WOOP is an acronym. It stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, and Plan. Okay. We can do this for any goal. In fact, you can do this for a whole host of things. But for today, we're just talking about our goals. Now, you can do this for your dream, you can do it for your mid-tier and your short-term goals. Okay? Works at all levels. What we do at the beginning is we state the goal, dream, or wish as clearly as possible. Okay? Articulate it as best as you can. And then think about the outcome. This is the part, this is the fantasy bit. We really think about what it is we want to achieve, why we want to achieve it, how we're going to feel when we achieve it, what is the best possible outcome of achieving your goal or dream or wish. Okay? Once we've done that and we're really clear on it, we've got all the good feels, we want to come back. Okay, great. What are the obstacles? What are the challenges within you that might stand in your way of taking action and reaching your goals? Okay? Really examine, really feel what might come up. Try and come up with a couple of words, 2 to 4 words that really describe the feelings that are going to get in the way or the behaviors that get in the way for you. Okay? And then we make a plan. We make a plan to achieve the wish, yes, but also we want to include if-then plans to overcome our desired obstacles. Not our desired, sorry, our notified, our identified obstacles. We want to create a process of going, if let's say my concept is, or my obstacle is procrastination, then I would write an if-then plan. If I find myself procrastinating, then I will commit to taking one small action. Let's say my goal is to, actually, you know what? This is on the next. Here we go. An example. My wish is to earn my blue belt. Okay, I've just started martial art journey. I want to earn my blue belt. The outcome. This is the mental elaboration, the fantasizing. Earning my blue belt would make me feel proud and give me a real sense of achievement that I'm making progress in my martial arts training. It will also mark the halfway point to black belt. Okay, it's exciting. I want to get there. I know how it's going to make me feel. It's the best possible outcome. Okay. The obstacle. Well, it can be hard to prioritize practice outside of class. I tend to procrastinate or be lazy and enjoy watching the TV and eating snacks. Well, I don't know about you, but eating snacks and watching TV probably isn't going to help me remember how to do my pumse, right? So that's okay. I've got my obstacles identified. I'm lazy and procrastinate, right? So here we go down to the plan. Okay, to earn my blue belt, I want to attend 2 to 3 classes a week, and I want to practice my patterns 2 to 3 times per week between classes. Okay, that's a lot of practice in a week. I know if I do that level of practice, I will feel confident in achieving my blue belt. I'll be making progress the whole time. Okay, so now I'm going to have some if-then plans that address my obstacle. If I am at home and watching TV, then I will stop and practice my pattern first. I'm not saying don't watch television. I'm just saying prioritize the more important task first, right? If I am at home and watching TV, I will stop and practice my pattern first. Okay? Next one, if I am home and I feel like snacking, then I will choose healthy snacks that improve my health and energy. There's no good saying I want to have an athletic goal and then sitting down and eating 3 blocks of chocolate as snacks, right? Okay. That never ending box of Tim Tams they advertise is not congruent with an athletic goal. Okay. So I want to make sure that I am choosing lifestyle habits that support my goal achievement. Okay. I hope that's making sense to you. Okay. That's just a nice example of how to go through WOOP. You can do that with anything, folks. Play with it. In her book, Rethinking Positive Thinking, Dr. Ottingen recommends making a daily practice. WOOP something every day. Just get in the habit of thinking about it, and it will really help you as a tool to move forward. Okay. All right. I hope you have enjoyed all that information. It is a lot. Okay. Sometimes we need help in setting and achieving goals or clarifying things. If that is you, if you find yourself going through this process and going, man, I'm just stuck. That was so much info. By all means, go back, rewatch it a couple of times. But guys, if you need help, reach out, come and find me. Okay. And I will absolutely help you. Okay. Setting goals, learning, it's a skill. Learning to set goals is one of the most powerful things you can do for your sense of achievement and for taking a real responsibility for what you want to achieve in life. So I highly recommend it to you. Okay. And now it's your turn. Okay. That's the overview done. Okay. Go forth and create your dreams. Okay. Look at setting aside a bit of time. Give yourself time. Okay. Give yourself an hour, 2 hours. Give yourself multiple weeks, a month even to come up with your dream and then build the goals around that and be prepared to change them. Okay. Nothing is perfect the first time. It might take a couple of goes to get clear. This is normal. It is okay. It means you're gaining clarity. If you like, a little exercise for Brian Tracy, from Brian Tracy in closing, is what he calls the 10 daily goals. You just get a little spiral bound notebook example. Okay. Just quick, easy book, nothing in it, just blank. And every day you get up and you just write the 10 goals that are most important to you right now. And what will happen is you do that without looking at the day before. And what will happen is over time, the first day it might have been hard to come up with 10, but you push yourself. And then the next day you'll have a different 10, and then a different 10, and then a different 10. But over time, what will happen is the really important ones will become really, really consistent. You'll become crystal clear on what it is that is important to you and what you want to achieve. And that can be a really valuable process to then run through WOOP and to see how they fit into your dreams and goals, as we have discussed already. Okay. Best of luck, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good time, have fun, and create your dreams. I look forward to hearing how they go.